Hello, hello, hello. It's Lisa Copeland, and I'm your host of the Rise and Roar Mastermind. Comes to you every Thursday at 12 noon. Sometimes I've got amazing guests, and sometimes I just have myself. And today I want to tell y'all about a project I've been working on, and it's super near and dear to me, like big time. And I've written a new book. It comes out at the end of December, and it's called The Roar of Faith. And it's really written around the Lioness movement. More to come on that. But really what inspired me to write it was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So I'd started writing the book in January of this year. So what I should say is what inspired me to finish the book was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And, you know, we can go down that road or not go down that road. And some of you who watch this is going to agree with me and some of you aren't. And that's okay too. It's why we live in America. But why I thought the book was important at this moment in time, for such a time as this, is that I think that in America, people are silenced. They're silenced to the point where, you know, they're assassinated, like what happened to Charlie. But that isn't the road I'm going down. I'm going down the road for women that are 50 years old. Women that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And you know what? This applies to the young women too. But what I've seen in my career, you know, I've worked in some very male dominated industries. I've seen it in life. I've seen it where women tend to diminish the older they get. And I'm like, girl, not on my watch, because the older you get, the more amazing you get. So my book, The Roar of Faith, I'm sitting here looking at my notes because I want to be really clear on it today, because today is the day I'm starting the talk on it. Like, I'm looking to build the Lioness community, okay, the Lioness movement. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the book's about. I've hired an incredible collaborator on the book who's helped me turn the book into a parable. And the parable is of two women, and it's Deborah and Leona. And, you know, the two women, and they're the ones who carry the roar of faith. Although I've got 43 women in the book that I know personally. Some of them are very famous. Some of them are very famous just to me, but they're all incredible women. And they've all been Deborahs, and they've all been Leonas. And Deborah and Leona are the two main characters in my book. But if you don't know, let me get to my notes here. So Deborah is a character from the Bible, and she was in Judges, in the book of Judges. And Deborah is a steady warrior with a quiet fire. So you think about the women that you know out there, and she's quiet and she's steady. And when I think about a Deborah that I know, and I hope she sees this, I'll probably tag her in it, I think of Renee Bengelsdorf. She's a Deborah. She's a silent assassin. Just when it comes to, she's not loud, she's not out there. Like, if I see a post on social media, I'm like, oh my God, I better go look at it, because like something's happened. Like, she's not that person. She's not like, look at me. But when I tell you, she is a silent warrior. She's a silent warrior for prayer. She's, if you guys are not following Renee, you need to follow Renee. Her and I wrote the book together, Crushing Mediocrity, back in 2016. She was one of the top women jet brokers in the world, one of my very, very best friends. And, but she and I are really the characters in this book, the Deborah and the Leona. And so let me tell you about Deborah, okay? I'm gonna go through some of my notes here. But Deborah is modeled after the biblical judge and prophetess in Judges 4:5. She represents the woman who has carried a lifetime of responsibility. She's the mom, she's the grandmother, she's the community anchor. Everyone goes to her for wisdom because she's lived enough to know what really matters. So I want you all to think about right now, who are the Deborahs that you know, and stick it in the comments. I'd love to see, who is a Deborah that you know? She's steady, she's prayerful, she's strategic. She reads people well because she's walked through valleys and kept her faith intact. Her weapon is discernment. She fights battles on her knees long before she ever steps onto the field. She doesn't yell, she doesn't have to. Her authority comes from the time in the wilderness with God, from choosing courage when fear would have been easier. In my story, Deborah is the woman who reminds the culture that moral clarity still matters. She's the one who steadies the ship. She calls people to truth and anchors the movement in righteousness. The voice that says, stand firm, God goes before us. Like, I can't, guys, I can't even tell you how excited I am about this book. So in all transparency, authenticity, if you guys heard my coaching call, I'm all about that. I wrote the book. End of story. I submitted over 35,000 words, which is a book, to my writer, to edit it and to bring it around. And he and I decided that versus being a book that just tells women, because that tends to be my personality. If you guys follow me, if you're watching this, you're like, I know, Lisa. I'm like, you got to go do it, girl. You go. Like, I'm the biggest hype person you ever want to meet. Always have been, always will be. I want to see my friends win. Like, I'm not a Deborah. I've been a Deborah in the fact that I've been reluctant, not afraid, but reluctant to, talk about things sometimes that need to be talked about in the culture. But I am more of the Leona, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And my writer and I decided that we needed the book to be a parable. So I could interweave these 43, which Renee is in the book, these 43 amazing women that I have had the honor of knowing or meeting. Some of them I don't know very well, but I have met everybody in the book, just for the record, from Megyn Kelly to Laura Trump to Riley. Like, I've met them all. And I have followed them for whatever reason. And then, of course, many of my very dear friends that are in the book. And why we thought the parable was important, because I want every woman who reads this book to find herself somewhere in this book. Sometimes we start as a Deborah, right? The quiet force. Sometimes we rise up like a Leona. But I think the culture that we live in, I think people are a little afraid to stand for what's right and what's true. And I wanted to give every woman a line of sight in this book. Now, let me tell you about Leona in the book. Leona is the lioness who refuses to stay quiet. Leona's bold. She's the woman who has spent 50 years being polite, being appropriate, being who the world thought she needed to be. But now the gloves are off. She finally realizes her voice carries weight. She's fierce, she's outspoken, and unafraid to call out what's broken in culture. She speaks truth even when it costs her comfort or popularity. She's the embodiment of the lioness spirit, protective, powerful, and tired of watching the world crumble while women sit in silence. And I have said that, right? Like, so this is Lisa taking off my business hat, my real estate hat. I've lost followers. I've lost friends. I talk about it in the book. I've lost things over standing up against what I think is a very broken culture. What others call too much, she calls obedience. In this book, in my book, she's the spark. She's the wake-up call. She's the one who kicks down the door and says, if we don't fight for our families, our faith, and our freedoms, then who will? Her boldness makes Deborah braver. Deborah's wisdom makes Leona sharper. And together, they're unstoppable. Oh my God, guys, I can't even tell you. Like, the book will be finished with all the edits, and like for my first total read through, I've read through the first 5 chapters. Like, oh, I can't even. I'm so excited. But I want every woman, and I wrote it. When you write a book, when you do anything, any kind of project, you need to have an avatar in mind, right? Like, I have just seen so many amazing, and my heart is with women that are 50 years old and older. That tends to be my audience. That tends to be my avatar. I have a lot of young mentees that I love, and they know how much I love them. And that's why I spend the time investing in them. And I hope all of you that are watching this, that you're finding young people. That's why I agreed to teach at University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. And starting in January, I'm teaching a Crushing Mediocrity based on our book, and a women's leadership course with Dr. Laura Oliver. And I'm so excited about it. And I've already had some of my students come to my office and meet with me just to get to know them. And these young women, they are, like, I love them. I can't even stand it. They're 19 and they're 20 years old, and they've got their whole life ahead of them. But we live in a country and in a situation that they need mentors. They need people like me to say, it's okay to stand up. It's okay to, not buy into the culture like it is today. So why I believe that women that are 50 years old and older must rise up now is that women are in this season of life. Okay. The women that are 50 years, if you know somebody that needs to see this, tag them in it, share this out. That's what I'm asking you to do. You're going to see me putting out a lot of information, interviews, all kinds of things about the book. But because I want to build this community, this community of Deborahs and Leonas. Okay. Because every one of them. So when I wrote the book, I didn't want to write it from my lens. It is written from my lens. I wrote the book, but I wanted it written from the lens of two women that every woman on planet Earth could relate to. And you can relate to Leona or Deborah in certain times of your life. There have been many times in my life I have been a Deborah. Quiet. I sat back. I'm just like, oh, I can't say anything. Why can't I say anything? Because I'm afraid of what the consequences will be. But damn it, this is wrong. What's happening here is wrong. But if I say anything, is it worth the consequences? If I open my mouth about like I live that on a daily basis because I am so I'm just so opinionated about the culture and about what's happening today. So here's why I believe that women over 50 must rise up. And I think all of you young women should also. And I thank you if you're watching this, if you're sharing it with your mom, you're sharing it with your grandmother, you're sharing it with your boss, whatever, share it, share it, share it. And these principles are all the same for you also. Okay. Women this season of life, we hold influence, we hold resources. Okay. Women over 50 have some money typically. We hold leadership experience, whether we're leading in the corporate world, we're leading as entrepreneurs, or we're leading our families. We have moral courage. I am willing to say today things I wouldn't have said 10 years ago. I just am. Like, what the heck? Like, what is it? What could you do to me now? Your legacy's on the line, women over 50, and a deep love for their families and their country. They have lived long enough to recognize deception and see what's at stake. They aren't chasing trends, and they're protecting the next generation. I dedicated, well, let me finish this. This is why my book is a parable. It calls to arms. It's a spiritual awakening wrapped in a story showing women that they are not done and that they are needed now more than ever. It's not us. If it's not us, then who? If it's not now, when? And I really, really like, this is my 2026 is going on the road and speaking on this book. And so if you guys know of any speaking opportunities, if there are any groups that would want to bring me in to talk to women about Roar of Faith after listening to this today, or if there's anybody that you think I need to connect with on the book, I'm hiring a PR firm definitely to go out with it because I've got so much invested in this book, not just money-wise with writers and editors and PR firm and all of that, but just of my heart and my soul. And why did Charlie Kirk's death spur me? I will tell you. I feel like that young man, I have followed Charlie for 10 years. I've donated to Charlie, all of it, because I admired that young man's courage. I admired courage to stand up against his own culture, meaning his generation. I know a lot of young people his age loved Charlie Kirk, but I also know a lot of young people his age did not like Charlie Kirk. And he stood for his convictions. He stood for his country. He stood for what was right. And he really tried to, through civil discourse, okay, he would do these campus tours and he would go out and he would say, okay, here's what I say, da, da, da. And he would allow people to come to the microphone and he would debate them. And I do think that that's what's missing in this country today. I had a great talk with some friends of mine last night at dinner. I hadn't seen them in 10 years, some friends of mine from the automotive industry. And we were talking at dinner and we don't agree on everything. We don't. I'm pretty outspoken about where I stand and I get it. And I said, but what I appreciated from dinner last night was the conversation. Because see, I am not one so baked into my beliefs that if I get new information, I won't make a different decision. I will make a different decision based on new information. I know that about myself. God, if everybody could go down that road, that if you have your core beliefs and you believe, and I'm not asking anyone to change what they believe. Like, I admire people who are really baked into their beliefs, even if they're different than mine. Where I have a problem is if people get new information and they're not willing to change not your beliefs as much as maybe your opinions or maybe your thought process. And I am willing to do that. So I like conversations. I like debates. We had a pretty good little debate going on last night. Some of these gals live in other parts of the country. And bottom line is they're not as conservative as I am. But I walked away with a couple of really key points that I was like, I'm going to have to really consider that. And I like that about me. I really do. It's like, I like me. I never say that. I don't think you guys have ever heard me say that. But I really will sit down with anybody and debate whatever you want to debate. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I believe. And until I believe something different, I'm going to think I'm right. But last night was just really good for me. And we walked away. I love you. I love you. Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 9 years since we've seen each other. You're so amazing. Da, da, da. Like, right? Like, so we had our conversation. I said this. This person said this. I said this. This person said this. And I said, huh, interesting. And then she literally said, huh, interesting. And then by the end of the night, we were like almost crying because the night was over and we were sad that we had to leave each other. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? People come up with their belief systems, okay, based on their circumstances. End of story. I'm convinced I have been such a patriot my entire life because my dad in 1984 took me to the Republican convention in Dallas, Texas, with George Bush, George H. Bush, and Ronald Reagan. And I got into the whole craze of the convention and Reagan and all of it, right? You know, all of it. Good grief, my hair hurt. And I had no interest in politics, zero, zippo in the morning before I went to that convention. And then I got involved with the Young Republicans in Dallas during the 84 Reagan Bush years, which, you know, I think America was very united back then. And everybody had Reagan Bush bumper stickers on their cars, at least in Dallas they did. And anyways, and so that kind of became my quest. That kind of became my, oh, wow, politics are interesting. And if you get involved, then you get to meet people. And if you get involved, then you get to learn. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter because half of whoever watches this is going to absolutely disagree with me. I get that too. It's okay. But what I don't want you to disagree with me about is that women of every race, creed, religion, background, whatever, that we are the ones who can change the planet. And one of the reasons I believe we can change the planet is because of conversations like I had last night, where and you know what? We didn't even agree to disagree. I didn't just disagree with her. She actually gave me some new information I didn't have about a subject. I'm like, huh, interesting. Very interesting. I'm going to check that out because maybe what I think about that subject has been wrong this entire time. And I'm willing to say that. And I'm willing to know more. And I've literally been on podcasts all morning, but I intend to kind of go down that line. And then I'm going to send her a text later today. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to own it. Not that I'm wrong, just wrong thinking. Just wrong thinking. That's all. And I'm going to own it. I'm going to say, hey, thank you. Thank you for the conversation. I can't wait to see you in July. And so why I think this book is important for women, let me get to that, is because women are willing to have these conversations. They are. Women don't start wars. Women don't go into a room and go, you know what's bigger than yours, and I have to win at any cost, and you're wrong, and I hate you, and blah, 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 blah. Women don't have to do that. They don't. You know, I was involved, myself and Robin Goad. Robin Goad's in the book. She and I were involved with a group called the White House Project. And this was about, what year do we say it was from the book? 2000? No, 2010. 2010. And we ended up in some crazy rooms, like standing with Gina Davis at a cocktail party because she was on the show Madam President at the time. But the White House Project was based on Marie Wilson, who wrote the book Madam President. No, I think the book was actually called The White House Project. And but the TV show Madam President was based on this, and it was funded by Oprah, and so was the White House Project. And it was supposedly a bipartisan group trying to help women run for office, more women, like from the school board all the way up to the White House. Wasn't bipartisan. I think I was the only Republican in the group, but we had really good conversations. And Robin and I spent some time in DC actually in New York City with Marie Wilson from the White House Project. She actually liked us because we were conservatives out of Texas. And we just had some really good conversations. We worked with the group for a minute. But just the fact that, you know, Marie felt like, and I guess the book is called The White House Project. Like I said, it's been a long time, and I'm sure she's deceased by now. She was, you know, probably 50 back then. I don't even know. But anyways, but she felt like why she put this together. Oprah funded it. The TV show was made on it. Like I said, we literally hung out with Gina Davis one night. it was because if women came together, women can have civil discourse, women can have conversations, women can debate. You know, I can debate anybody, and I'm not going to call them names, and I don't think the people I know would call me names. I don't think I'd say, well, if you do this, and I'm going to ruin your family, I'm going to take you out on. Like, it just doesn't happen like that with women. So if more women were in leadership, okay, if more women were in leadership, the world would be a better place. Whether they're Republicans or Democrats, it doesn't really matter, because I think they can work together. And one of my favorite stories was I was the campaign chair for U.S. Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison when for Williamson County, for when she was running for the Republican nod for governor of Texas, and 2008, something like that. And so I got to know the senator very well. I went to Washington, D.C., to the Russell Senate building, because Williamson County in Texas is either the first or second most important voting county in the entire state. And why is that? Because Sun City sits there. And Sun City, those folks vote. Okay. And so we knew it was a really, really important block of voters. And so anyways, I'd go up there, you know, and we'd chit chat. And Marie Wilson, White House Project, actually put Kay Bailey Hutchison in her book, The White House Project. And she said, I like Kay because Kay's moderate. And this is back when Hillary Clinton, who, you know, I'm not a big fan, but anyways, but Hillary Clinton was she was Senate from New York, and Kay had adopted a couple of kids. And do you know who had her baby shower? So this is a Republican, conservative, and, you know, New York Democrat Senator Hillary Clinton. And do you know who had Kay Bailey Hutchison's baby shower for her? Hillary Clinton. Again, they were both U.S. senators, had it at the Russell Senate building. And I just remember I shouldn't say Kay, Senator Hutchison told me that story. And she said her and I would go at it like on the floor, right? You know, Democratic senator from New York versus the Republican senator, senior senator, I might add, from the great state of Texas, right? So they were like this politically, but as humans, they were friends. And that story has always stuck with me. I've always liked that story, and it's a true story. I heard it from the horse's mouth. And so that's one of the reasons I'm writing this book. You know, I think that all women have to come together. Like, we got to lay down the swords, ladies. And I can still believe what I believe, and you can still believe what you believe. But at the end of the day, I know that we want our children to be safe, and we want them to live in a good world. And I know that we want our grandchildren to have some sort of future. And that I believe that, you know, all of us want to have safe streets and a safe place to live, good schools, you know, all of it. So I think fundamentally that, you know, there's more that unites us than divides us. And so this book's super important to me. And I hope that, I don't know, I hope I can get some legs behind the Lioness movement. I hope I can become that voice. And what I will say about Charlie Kirk is, you know, I had met him a couple of times. Nice young man, just so nice. And I just always admired him, because it takes courage, right? It takes guts. It takes guts to be the one to stand up, especially in that younger culture. You know, it's especially his age. At that age point, it wasn't popular to be the conservative guy on campus. But I love how he went into it. And you're going to see all kinds of propaganda and memes and stuff. He was this, and he wasn't that. You know, he was just there to defend what he believed was true and right in America. And if you didn't buy into it, that's okay too. And that's where that's where this book comes in, because these 43 women that I tell their story in the book, and all of them, most of them have a story that I did something with them, or I met them at an event or whatever. I mean, or they're friends of mine, or they're, you know, I do have some pretty incredible friends. I'm kind of lucky. And what I've seen them do in the culture, whether it's from a business standpoint, whether it's with their families, whether it's with their communities, but it's all brought through this parable, so that every woman, example, I'll give you an example. Laura Trump, love her or hate her. Okay. Half of you are going to love her, half are going to hate her. I love her. I got to spend some time with her. And I tell the story of me and Laura Trump hanging out backstage, and then me, her, and Elena going off into a private room and having a conversation. And I view that story. I tell the story through the eyes of Leona and Deborah. And I think every woman, no matter who you are, you're going to find yourself in this book. You're going to find yourself either being a Leona or a Deborah, or sometimes both. You're going to decide whether you want to be that quiet force, because I'll tell you, there is a price to pay when you are a Leona. There's a price to pay, you know. But I think there's a price to pay if you don't stand up either. That's what I think. So why the book was so important to write. I started it in January. I went to Sharon Lechter, New York Times bestselling author, 40 million books. Okay. So she's a pretty good person to bounce something off of. And I told her I wanted to write this book. And it's not this particular book, by the way, but I wanted to write a book for women. And I felt like I could do it now safely without being canceled, because President Trump was elected. I'll be honest, you know. I felt like with what was going on before, you know, it'd be almost dangerous to write the book. I'd be taken off of, you know, I'd be deplatformed, all of it. So I said, now I think I've got a time. I've got this window in time. I can write this book. And she agreed. Michael Lechter told me that it was very timely. It was going to be a good book. Sharon was like, I agree with you. Go do it. You know, I'll work with you on it, whatever. And so I got busy. So I started it. I got busy. And then Charlie was assassinated. And I literally locked myself in my house for over a week. And I pulled out the outline and I wrote the book in a week, like all day, every day. My office will tell you I did not come to work. People are like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm writing. I'm in my zone. Like if ever now is such a time as this, that free speech and that we have to rise up as women, as moms, as grandmas over 50 years old. I mean, they're now gunning people down for free speech. Like I can't, like it's time. It's time. This book has to come out. And so that's what I did. And then I talked to Sharon about it. And Sharon said, I want you to work with this person. And that's what I did. And he's amazing. And we've worked through it so that it wasn't a book where I was just going, because I tend to do that. I don't know if you guys know my style at all. I can't help it. Like I was telling them last night, I said, I am a lecturer. I am a speaker. I am a person who, like, I get paid to talk to people. But even when I'm going to be teaching, you know, I'm going to be bringing these young people down the road of critical thinking. Like, it doesn't matter what I think. It's what do you think based on the facts that are being laid in front of you, right? And so we took that approach in the book. You know, nobody wants to hear me just go for 14 chapters, even though I love doing that. I'll save this podcast for that. We wanted to take every woman who reads the book down a journey, and we want you to decide, where do you sit in this culture? Where do you sit in this society? Because I'm here to tell you, we should not be thrown away at 50 years old or 60 years old or 70 years old. You are more fabulous. You are more important today than you ever were. And I know for a fact that our kids need us. I dedicated this book to my 4 grandsons. And I thought, if I get taken out tomorrow or I die tomorrow, I want them to know that Lala tried. You know, that I tried to do something to make the world a better place. And making the world a better place would be empowering my people, which are women or 50 and older. And rising up sounds like it's violent, and I don't believe in that at all. And that's not what I mean. I mean rising up in our consciousness. Did I say that right? Consciousness of what's happening, and taking a stand, and talking to our children and talking to our grandchildren, and being more involved in the schools and being more involved in the communities, like mentoring young people, not being afraid if you're standing in a group and that group says something that you totally disagree with, that you just don't shrink and get small and just internalize it. And you know fundamentally that they are wrong. What they're saying is wrong. that you have the courage to either find a different group, because that's always an option, is to find a different group of people to hang out with, or to stand up. And I don't mean fight with people. I don't mean antagonize people. I mean, say, you know what? I don't agree with that. And here's why. Are any of you willing to listen to what I believe? And if people are not willing to listen to what you believe, you need new people. And it doesn't mean you all have to believe the same thing. Okay, I have some of my very dearest friends that when we get into these big things and they're on one side of an issue and I'm on the other side of an issue, and we can go at it. And the one I would say about that, of course, she's in the book, is Rebecca Contreras. And nobody loves Rebecca more than I do. Okay, there's just that. But she and I can be so explosive on issues, and then we can literally just laugh and hug it out and move on. And just move on. And I wish everybody could do that. And Rebecca is my most fun person to sit and just go back because she can take it and I can take it. So it's really a very, very fun friendship in that matter. So again, I don't mean you have to find all new friends, ladies. If you're over 50 and you're looking for your place in this world and you think you're done and you think that your voice doesn't matter anymore, and you think that your kids don't care what you have to say. They may not care what you have to say, but they're going to watch what you're doing. They are. I'm on a couple of group chats with my kids on a couple of things right now. And it's interesting to hear their perspective. And, I might be a little more afraid of what's going on. I'm very afraid of what's going on in the world today. I shouldn't even say that. I would be more afraid if I was them, because I would be living longer than I am today. But see, I'm terrified for my grandkids and for them. And I think that if we, the strongest people in the world, their moms and their grandmas and these amazing women on planet Earth, I think that if we don't get more involved in the culture and we don't, and we continue to shrink, we're afraid, we don't want to be controversial, we don't want to lose friends, we don't want to lose neighbors, we don't want to blah, 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 then this is just going to keep going. This is just going to keep going. So anyways, my book, Roar of Faith, it's not out yet. This is the first time I've really publicly gone out and talked hard about it, kind of given the backstory on it, but I am super excited about it. And I hope it takes off. It may not. It may not, but it won't be because I didn't try. It won't be because I didn't bring in the best writers and editors. It won't be because I didn't hire a PR firm, because I am. It won't be because of that. Like this for me is a legacy book. It isn't to sell more houses, and it's not to make more money. It's none of that. I don't need. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I don't need money. Everyone needs money, but I'm not writing it for that reason. I'm writing it so 100 years from now, that my great grandchildren said, "Man, at least Lala tried." And I don't think any of us can go at this alone. I don't think that, and my book again is for women 50 years and older. I hope a 40-year-old picks it up. I hope a 20-year-old picks it up. I hope all of that, but I just hope and I pray that that something in that book is going to spark the Deborah in you, or spark the Leona in you, and that you'll go tackle one project. You'll go tackle one thing that you will be open to when you hear new information, possibly making a different decision. And that's whether you're on the right or on the left. Okay. I think that the world is tried very hard to polarize us against each other. And I think this is the time that women can come together and go, you know what? You and I are going to agree to disagree on this one, but here's my thoughts. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. I know Sandra Day O'Connor talked about civil discourse. Like, that's what's missing in this country today. People just can't have conversations anymore. Like, oh, don't talk about politics at Thanksgiving. Like, really? Come to my house. We're talking about politics at Thanksgiving. And not everybody agrees with Lisa. Okay. At my Thanksgiving table. That's okay. But why can't we talk about it? Why can't we talk about what the government's doing? Why can't we talk about what's happening in the churches? Why can't we talk about Jesus? Why can't we talk about what's happening in the schools? Why can't we talk about it? I should change my name of the book to that, but I'm not going to, because it's about the rise, the roar of faith, the roar, the lioness. But like, why can't we talk about it? I'm going to leave you with that. I will see you lionesses next week. Love you guys.